Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Trust and Believe. I'm your host, Shaun T, and today I'm just going to give you my experience with my sickness with the coronavirus and just talk through it with you all. And the reason why I'm going to do this today is because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are nervous to get it. Maybe you've had someone get it. But most importantly, I've really had a lot of people ask me what my symptoms were and how was I doing. And so while I really appreciate that, I also wanted to take the opportunity to let you guys know what my experience was like. And then in addition to that, thank you for thinking of me. And the last thing I'll say before I get into the episode is I know that there are so many people out there who Google, because I suffer from health anxiety. So I know a lot of people out there, they Google symptoms, they Google this, if they feel a certain way. And I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to give you my experience. And hopefully this will put your mind at ease a little bit. But always check with your physician if you have any questions or if you're suffering. And we have a link in the bio, a link in the show notes below if you need some assistance with the coronavirus. Thank you very much, and get ready to trust and believe in my experience.
Somebody say hell yeah!
What's up? He's better than Oprah. Come on, y'all.
This is Shaun T, and it's time to trust and believe. One week ago, on January 27th, I had just finished a massage, and I sat down in my chair after my massage therapist had left, and I just remember finishing my massage, and I just was like, I don't feel really well, but I wasn't overly stressed about it. I just kind of thought I just got a massage, and my body just was feeling a little bit drained, and so I was fine with it. And then that evening, Scott and I were on the couch, and I felt a little teeny tick on my throat, and I was kind of coughing, and I realized that I was keeping my head back on the couch, which I never sit like that. I always sit kind of straight up on the couch unless I'm actually laying down or we're really relaxing. And I just kind of was in more of a slump. And so I knew that my energy was just a little bit shot or a little bit weird, but I was like, I got a massage today. I had tennis practice twice at 2-a-days, and I just thought I was tired. We went to bed, and around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning is when I started getting that feeling of just being really restless, that malaise feeling. It felt like I had a fever, but it wasn't quite popping off, if you will. It was just kind of in this weird zone. And I woke up the next morning feeling just like, not as strong as what some people would describe the flu, but just kind of in that realm. Like, it was like, if the flu's a 10, it felt like a 4. And I was just kind of like, something feels weird. But we had been tested. I had been tested, I don't know, like 4 times in the past 8-9 days, maybe 10 days. So I was kind of hesitant to think it was COVID, but I said, okay, Scott was just like, I had some body aches on Saturday, but I'm fine. He's like, I had a little stomach thing, but I'm fine. And I was like, okay. So I went throughout that day, and I realized that around maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where I usually get an afternoon lull. You guys know I love to take a nap. But this time I was hanging out with my kids, and they were like, can you get me some juice, Papa? Can you get me this? And normally, even if I'm tired in the middle of the day, I'm more like, okay, like I can get up, I can move, I can go work out if I want to. And this time, they asked me like 3 or 4 times. And that's when I realized, I was like, well, I must be tired. And so I kind of went throughout the rest of the day. I worked out. I was just like, I'm not going to give it the energy, but I definitely wasn't feeling well. Then the night came, and I started Googling, which I am telling you right now, maybe you can go on, reputable websites to get symptoms for COVID, but try not to go down the Google rabbit hole, because you will go down this rabbit hole and this snowball effect, and it's just going to add more and more stress to your life. So I just ask you all to just please try not to Google, call your doctor, go to a reputable website. We'll put some links below in the show notes, just so that you don't go down this rabbit hole and build this snowball of stress. I say that telling you not to do that, but it's something that I suffer with. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to come on and talk to you about my experience. But anyway, I went down that little rabbit hole, and then I just realized, I was trying not to exacerbate the situation, but I also said, while checking my symptoms, I took one of those self-assessment tests on Google, and it just said, if you feel like you're sick, quarantine, reach out to your physician, whatever. So I just thought, I'm going to go to sleep. If I wake up tomorrow and I feel better, then maybe it was, something I got. Because here in Arizona, over the past, 8 years that I've lived here, we would return home from a really long trip and get like this achy kind of like low grade fever cold, but it would last for a day, and we call it like the Phoenix flu, we kind of call it. And it's just, some people have valley fever. It could be the air quality that sometimes made us feel weird, but we get over it quick. So I said, if I wake up the next day and I'm not feeling good, I'm going to get a COVID test. Well, that night was the worst. I am pretty sure my fever was above 100.4, and I was tossing and turning. And then that morning I woke up and my fever was 105. And so after I got up and I drank some water, I started feeling kind of normal in terms of like bright-eyed. I definitely wasn't bushy-tailed. And I just said to Scott, I was like, I'm going to go get a test, because I just don't feel good. And for those of you who are wondering, well, why didn't you quarantine from your family? It is a very long story, but I had quarantined from my family beforehand, because we had someone who comes to our house test positive. So which wasn't a really smart idea, but we thought, okay, after 8 or 9 days of testing negative, then we're fine. And it was probably a day too early. So anyway, I went and I got tested. And on my way there, I kind of realized that on Christmas evening, one of my kids had 101 point something fever. It's not that I realized it, but I was kind of putting it all together. And I just said, like, of course this is it, because he had been exposed. I remember going to his room. He started crying, and I felt him, and he was hot. And I remember him saying, Papa, can you please make me feel better? And when your 3-year-old says that, you're not like, hey, I'm going to lock the door and quarantine you in this room. It's like, what? So, of course, I'm holding him, and I'm thinking, like, this is crazy. So I went in and I got the test, and I just they were like, it's going to take an hour and a half. And I said, I'm just going to sit in this car. I don't want to find out while I'm driving. So I took the test. You administer it yourself. We have these really great places in Arizona to get tested. They do a really good job of just making it accessible, and you can get it for free if you need to. But I sat in my car and I just waited, and I got the results via email, and it said positive. And I was just like so mad. I was mad at a lot. I was just mad at how it happened, how it got into our house. I was mad that, we opted to spend Christmas together when we probably could have waited 5 more days. But, one of the things that's like weird about that situation is if we would have waited, then my boys, one of my sons would have got sick. Then Scott would have got sick, and there would have been 2 weeks before I even came home, and I had already been away from home for 9 days. So it would have just been like a month away from home, Scott being sick it would have just been crazy. So yeah, I'm not happy that I'm sick, but it's just so many domino effect type things that happen because of this situation. Anyway, I test positive at the testing location, and I call Scott on the phone, and I say to Scott, hey, I tested positive. He's like, oh, F-U-C-K. And then he's like, should I come? And I'm like, yes, you absolutely should get tested. Called his parents because we were all together on Christmas. So then his parents got tested. Called Chip and Elliot and let them know. I'm just like, listen, everybody should just get tested because it's just what happens with coronavirus. Everyone eventually came back and tested positive. Here's the thing. When you hear on the news or if you read articles that you trust, and they do tell you that a surge is coming because of an event like, let's say Thanksgiving or Christmas, there's a surge going to happen because the virus, and again, I'm not a doctor, but for us, it takes 2 to 10 days. And that's why they tell you to quarantine for 14 days for the virus to show up in some people. And then there's this thing called shedding. And it's a really contagious virus. And so it was just like the snowball effect. And then, for me, it was really important for me to call everyone. I had been in work in LA. I stayed in an Airbnb. I literally called everyone except the people that I figured I could text and not, they would be like, okay, I'm gonna get this together. But instead of texting 80-90% of the people, I called them because I just thought that was just the right thing to do. Hey, I tested positive. I was in contact with you. I'm pretty sure I know where I got it from, but it's important because you were with me the last couple of weeks. Later that day, or 2 hours later, Scott tested positive. We didn't test the boys because one had already tested positive. One, then he tested negative. Then obviously I told you about my one son who had the temperature. So, and they were completely fine now. So then my in-laws tested positive. And again, like I said, Chip tested positive. So that was Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, I actually slept and drenched out. I think it was Tuesday night where I just drenched out my clothes because I was just so hot. And I drenched out my clothes. And that's when I started to take a turn for the better. I felt like I don't know if there's a fever break thing that happens with COVID. It happens to everyone differently, but I ended up breaking my fever and I never got a fever again. It was hovering normal to 99.2, which is not considered a fever with the virus. And then my body aches started to drift where one day they were all day long. The next day they would be I think Wednesday they were every hour or so. And then Thursday, it was it only happened 3 times. And then Friday, I had 1 or 2 bouts of body aches. And then I started to get a lot of energy as each day went on. And then Saturday, my nose just immediately got stuffy out of nowhere. It just, And today, I'm filming this on a Sunday, which is a week after I gotten it. Besides my nose feeling a little bit stuffy, my brain is back, my clarity is back and all that. But I do want to go back, a couple days just so you all know, for those of you who have some specific questions. On Wednesday, while I still felt uneasy, I definitely know that I had a mild case because I didn't experience any issues with breathing, trouble breathing, nothing. I bought an oximeter, which, helps monitor your heart rate and for me, just your oxygen, just to make sure. But the reason why I wanted to go back a couple of days too is because my family, I wanted to tell you all, everybody had a completely different experience with COVID. And I'm only talking for the people that live with me. Like I said, Sanders showed up. All of a sudden he didn't have it. Silas had it for maybe 24 to 36 hours, somewhere in that window. Scott got body aches and a stomach thing. And then 4 days later, he shows up with his nose stuffy like mine. He sounds the same way as me. His dad just had felt like he had a mild cold with just being pretty tired a couple days. And his mom, I would say she had a hot and cold one day, and she kind of had it the worst because she had a little bit of the breathing thing, and everyone seems to be on the progress and the positive way. So, there's some positivity there, but I just want to tell you that everyone experiences this different. And that's why it's important when I said try not to Google anything except for the facts of what your experience is. Because if you go down this Google route, you can start being like, when I Googled, I said, I need to stop this. Because it was like, you're fine. And then on day 5, you experience this. And then blah, blah, blah. And it really, a lot of times when you're looking at information, I don't know if they design it to scare you, but at least I know your brain, it definitely does a trick on your brain and it makes you scared. And a lot of times, if you watch the news and stuff like that, I don't know what their goal is, but a lot of times it just seems like things are put out there to freak us out instead of just giving us the hard facts without freaking us out. I am a person, and I will say this, because I'm not downplaying the virus. It's serious. I don't care if it's a 99% survival rate or whatever the percent is. Don't mark me on my percentage. I take it seriously because if there's a 99% survival rate, there's a 1% death rate, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I'm mad that I got it, because in my personal oath, knowing that something this serious is happening in the world, I try to protect the 1%. That's just what I do. Some people are like, it's 99%. I'm healthy. It's a bad flu. And I'm like, cool. The way you process COVID and the way you want to live your life. Some people like wearing masks. Some people don't. Some people think they're fake. Some people wear them for support, even though they don't think it works. For me, I'm not one at this point after going through this year or last year, 2020. I'm not one to judge. I'm only telling you how I go about this situation. And, my motto on life is the golden rule anyway. So I want to help the person who is in the most trouble. And so for me, that's the 1%. And so if I got to do it, I got to do it. But it does bring another conversation into perspective with me, and I'm not a doctor. And the other conversation is, so what about the flu? What about the common cold? And for me, even though I'm a healthy individual, it definitely makes me say to myself, well, I have the knowledge and commitment to make myself want to stay healthy so that I don't spread any sickness to other people, and try my best to do that. It's not how everyone lives, but that's how I live. That's what I choose to do. And from this experience, I'm going to choose to focus on that even more. I do want to say, for the people out there who say, well, people just need to get healthy and they just need to have a great immune system, I agree. I've been doing health and fitness for 20 plus years. And if it was that easy for people to change, I wouldn't have a job. If it was that easy for people to change, I wouldn't have a new person starting a workout program every single day. And so for people who do say that, I understand your stance on people just need to get healthy. People just need to get healthy. I agree too. I'm very passionate about that. But for a second, I would like other people out there to take a look at your personal journey. Rome wasn't built in a day. No one got ripped overnight. No one, even though some people know that they need to lose weight or they need to get healthy, it's not easy to make those decisions. There are some neighborhoods in the United States of America that don't even have grocery stores with fresh produce within 1 mile of the grocery store. There are people who can't afford Instacart and Uber Eats and afford the healthy food. And so while I'm hoping that there are some government programs out there, and I'm actually going to do some more research, I've already donated some money to just some lives I've seen on Instagram that I've seen some people do. But I just want us to be very mindful of like the type of community that I came from and some people that I know came from and people that I know that live in communities that have older people who never had a smartphone. And then all of a sudden this virus comes and we want them to be like, you need to eat this and be healthy and go get fresh produce. And they can barely afford it, or they can't get a smartphone, or they have to wear their mask, or they don't have an immune system. You know, the world changed very rapidly. And while I believe that there's a percentage of America that has the knowledge and education and the ability to commit to better health, 100%. I believe that if you have the ability, if you know what it's like, you have a duty to keep your immune system healthy. But we have to be mindful that it's just not that easy for everyone else out there to just switch. If it was, people who write amazing books or put out amazing workouts, we would have people working out, but we would no longer need to produce so much content because everyone would be at the top of their game, and people aren't. Even people who look as healthy as possible, they may not eat the healthiest, right? They may not, just because they're young, like I was talking to one of my friends, just because they're young doesn't mean they have a great immune system. Just because someone's thin, 6 foot, 165 or 5'4", 118, just because they're thin or small doesn't mean that they're healthy. And it doesn't mean that they're in the right mindset, which takes me to the last thing that I want to talk about: mental health. Mental health is a major part of this pandemic. And obviously the coronavirus was the driving force for this massive change in our world. But besides the sickness and disease itself, the thing that the other sickness and biggest effect that it's having on us as a community and a world is our mental health. I've heard so many people talk about it. I actually, a few weeks ago, was just very upset, and I reached out to a new therapist, and I'm so excited to begin that process, even for me, because last year was just crazy and wild, and it brought to surface just a lot of things. So before you go out and post comments on people's things and like whether you agree with this or disagree with that, just be a little bit more mindful of people's mental health that may actually be commenting to reach out for help, or just, I can't change everyone, and not everybody's going to follow the rules, and not everyone believes in being kind and being nice. But if you're listening to this, I just hope that you are able to kind of think before you type, think before you speak, think before you post, and kind of ask yourself, am I aiding in the betterment of someone's mental health before I post this? And if I have a really strong belief about the virus or the immune system or exercise or whatever it is the way that I'm saying something going to help someone, or is it going to bash them and push them down and make them feel really bad? And I really try to I made some mistakes in my life where, you know, the way I spoke to people, even though I'm like really mad or angry or passionate, it feels good for me to say that because I'm getting something out. But at the end of the day, is the way that I'm putting out my message, is it going to help someone, or is it going to push them further away? Is it going to hurt them? Is it going to dig them in a hole? And so I think we all have the responsibility to try and at least communicate in the best way that we know how, with whatever way you feel and your opinion is, because I just don't think that we're able to change people's opinions at all. So just focus on being kind. Last but not least, I did my first workout yesterday. I'm about to do my next workout today. Yesterday I worked out for 20 minutes. Today I hope to work out for 25. I'm not going to overdo it, just because, again, like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. In my recovery, I'm not going to be 100%, tomorrow. So I just think it's really important not to put the pressure on yourself if you are a new exerciser, new to health, or if you're just getting over COVID, and just do the best you can do. There are a lot of vitamins and stuff that I took to help make myself better. But I have to be honest with you all. I'm not a doctor. I had one doctor appointment and I spoke to one of my doctors, and they gave me things that are going to aid and make me feel better. But I might have one of those people as a guest on just about immune health and in general, so you can hear from someone who can really tell you about vitamins and minerals and supplements and what they're called and how many IUs you're supposed to take. And because it's a really complex scientific conversation that while I do know it's in my brain, I would just be regurgitating what was told to me, and I'd rather bring you an expert's voice on, you know, maybe the things that you can do to help you out in the world of just being as healthy as possible in that realm. I can help you with exercise, and I can help inspire you to continue to commit. I can help you with other stuff too, but this show is about me staying in my lane and bringing on people that's going to help educate me and help educate you so you can continue to come back and continue to listen. Thank you guys so much. I will definitely update you on my progress. Please follow me on any other social media platform for my daily ins and outs and craziness, and keep it here on your podcast app or on YouTube just to continue to have these conversations. And like I always say, I hope that you continue to trust and believe in who you are, and just know that if you're under the weather, if you're not feeling mentally great, don't be afraid to reach out to your doctor. Don't be afraid to reach out to a therapist. Don't be afraid to talk to your friend, family, or someone you love so that you can stay mentally strong and as physically strong as possible, and continue to dig deep with me in your workouts. And always trust and believe in who